In this video, we're talking about how to answer the interview question, tell me about yourself. So this might be the most important interview question in most interviews. It's usually the first question that's going to get asked in the interview. It's not always tell me about yourself. Sometimes it's walk me through the resume. Whatever the format of the question, the interviewer is generally just looking for you to introduce yourself and tell them why you're there applying for the role and interviewing for the role. So we'll walk through some simple mistakes to avoid as well as what to do when answering the question. So in terms of mistakes to avoid, probably the number one mistake I see with this interview question is rambling on. So especially with this type of question where there's so much you can say, like tell me about yourself. Like I could tell you about myself for hours and hours. There's so much to say. But that's a huge mistake when you're answering this question. The interview is only so long. What the interviewer really wants to know is a kind of succinct explanation of who you are, why you're good for the role, and why you're interested in the role. So don't ramble on about your entire life. That's kind of similar to this next point. Don't go down rabbit holes. So I think we all have a tendency to do this, especially when you're nervous for an interview. You might start talking about, I don't know, like I'm Cole, and recently, like I went on vacation, and on this vacation, like I saw this and I did this, and then all of a sudden you're talking about your vacation for 10 minutes, and the interview is only 30 minutes long, and your vacation has nothing to do with why you're applying for this role. So just be careful not to do the normal human habit of going down a rabbit hole and going off on a tangent. Talking too much, that's pretty much the first two bullet points summarized. And then the last one is including irrelevant info. So what we specifically mean here is that they are asking you to tell them about yourself. And you could say anything about yourself. You could describe any facet of your personality you want to. However, they're really asking you, like, why are you here? Like, who are you? Why are you going to help our company? Why are you applying for this job? So don't include just like any information about yourself. Make sure you're including information that is actually relevant to the interview, which gets us into our next kind of set of points, which is how to actually answer this interview question. So in general, you want to tell a logical story that ends with you getting the role. And so what that sounds like is you including information that is kind of the beginning of this story of why you're interviewing for this role and why you want this role. So for example, if you're applying for a sales role, maybe earlier in your life, you did something that made you realize you had really good communication skills. Maybe you competed in debate in high school. Maybe you did a public speaking event where people were like, wow, you're a really good speaker. Maybe somebody told you you're good at you would be good at sales because you're persuasive. So that's like kind of the beginning of what you could tell them about yourself, and then you could explain, the rest of the journey. Maybe you had an internship in sales and you really liked it. Whatever it is, tell the parts of the story that are relevant to leading up to you getting this role. And that is kind of the similar point to bullet point 2 here, which is tailor your experience for the role. So again, don't include any random or like any information about yourself. You want to talk about your experience in a structured way where it's kind of like a timeline of like, I did this and I did this, and now I'm here because of all those things I've done before. So tailor your experience for the role you're applying to. And then the last piece of advice is memorize your answer. So we don't mean memorize it like you're going to read it off of a teleprompter, because you want to be natural in an interview. That's very important. But because almost 100% sure that this question is going to get asked in the interview, you should practice this answer in the mirror and almost memorize it before the interview. And because you know what the role is, you already know what relevant information you need to memorize. And this is going to help you be a lot more confident going into the interview. It's like going into a test, knowing what the first question on the test is going to be and knowing what your answer is already. So hopefully that was helpful in preparing you to answer this question that will almost certainly be included in your upcoming interview. And good luck on your interview, and thanks for watching.